Welcome back, detectives. Let's dive into another harrowing case. The case of Sierah Joughin. Sierah Joughin was a young girl who got along with everyone. She had a cheerful, humorous, and energetic personality that brought joy to those around her. Even when she made mistakes, she knew how to make her mother smile. As she grew up and entered high school, Sierah maintained her adventurous spirit. She was not afraid to try new experiences, such as playing volleyball, and she felt comfortable and confident both on and off the court. On July 19, 2016, Joughin's family returned home from vacation and started unpacking. Sierah was excited about her upcoming fall semester at university, especially her plans to study abroad. Her mother wanted to talk to her about it. Sierah was very active and had recently bought a bike, but she hadn't had the chance to ride it yet. Whenever she found some free time, she was eager to go biking. That day, Sierah left the house dressed casually in shorts and a tank top, with her hair in a ponytail. She told her mother she was going to visit her boyfriend, Josh, who lived 712 miles away, and her mother approved of her plan. At approximately 1:05 p.m., Josh called Sierah's house. He was concerned because he couldn't reach her. Her phone went straight to voicemail. When Josh asked Sierah's mother if she was home, she replied that Sierah wasn't there. Josh then informed her that Sierah had left his house shortly before 7 p.m. and that he hadn't seen or heard from her since. Sierah's mother immediately sensed that something was wrong because Sierah wasn't answering her phone as she usually did. She quickly contacted Sierah's parents and grandparents, who lived nearby, but they had no idea where Sierah was. Extremely worried about their daughter's safety, Sierah's and Josh's families began an urgent search. Sierah's mother immediately got in the car, determined to search everywhere possible. She carefully checked every corner and both sides of the road, but still could not find any trace of Sierah. Meanwhile, Sierah's aunt, along with her husband and son, also joined the search. They were worried that Sierah might have had an accident. Despite their best efforts, they still could not find any sign of her. When Sierah's mother returned home, she urgently contacted Sierah's friends via social media, hoping that someone had seen or heard any news about her. However, there was no response. After many hours, there was still no sign of Sierah. Deeply worried, Sierah's mother decided to call the police. Just an hour later, a neighbor called to report that County Road 6 was blocked. Sierah's family rushed out of their home to see what was happening. They found a chaotic scene, with police officers refusing to let them through and providing no information. This left Sierah's mother in a panic, wondering if the police had found her missing daughter. Desperate for answers, local police decided to seek the assistance of the FBI. They promised to provide any updates to Sierah's family as soon as possible. Sierah's family couldn't sleep, lying awake and thinking about what they should do the next day. Sierah's mother and aunt refused to wait for answers and took matters into their own hands. Her mother began calling hospitals, hoping to find any sign of Sierah. After several calls with no results, they felt increasingly hopeless. However, a glimmer of hope appeared when they received a tip from Detroit, Michigan, about a young girl who bore a striking resemblance to Sierah. That woman had been taken to the hospital without any identification after trying to escape from a moving car. She was severely injured, with multiple broken bones. In order to identify her, a nurse asked Sierah's family to check for distinguishing marks. Sierah's mother confirmed that Sierah had a scar on her calf and a pierced navel. The woman in the hospital appeared to match Sierah's description. Sierah's family hoped that the girl in the hospital was Sierah. However, they quickly discovered that it was not her. The realization was devastating, as they had pinned so much hope on finding her. The next morning, Police arrived at Sierra's home to provide an update on the events of the previous night. They reported that one of their officers had discovered a destroyed cornfield nearby. When he arrived at the area, he noticed signs of a struggle. He also saw traces of a motorcycle and decided not to disturb any evidence. During the incident, he caught a glimpse of Sierra's purple bicycle. Police later found several items at the scene, including both men's and women's sunglasses, a pair of bloody socks, and a screwdriver. Based on these findings, the police believed Sierra was abducted at this location. During the investigation, detectives extensively interviewed Sierra's friends and family to gather information about her boyfriend, Josh. Through their inquiries, they discovered that Sierra and Josh had been best friends since they were 7 years old. Their friendship eventually blossomed into a romantic relationship during their freshman year of high school, where they were known to be a lively and fun-loving couple. One of their shared passions was skiing, which they often enjoyed together. After graduating from high school, Sierra chose to attend the University of Toledo, while Josh enrolled at Bowling Green. Despite the distance, their commitment to their relationship remained strong, and they frequently discussed the prospect of marriage. However, Sierra wanted to prioritize her studies before settling down. Their relationship remained serious, and they had weathered the challenges of a long-distance relationship. Detectives determined that Sierra arrived at Josh's home at approximately 1 p.m. on July 19th. According to the information they gathered, at around 6:30 p.m. that day, Sierra decided to leave Josh's home and wanted to ride her bike home. Concerned for her safety, Josh offered to accompany her on his motorcycle. However, on the way home, Sierra insisted that Josh turn around and let her ride home by herself, wanting to demonstrate her independence. Josh reluctantly agreed, and they parted ways, with him returning on his motorcycle and Sierra continuing her ride home. During the investigation, detectives found motorcycle tracks in the cornfield near Sierra's bike. This raised the question of whether these tracks could belong to Josh's motorcycle. Detectives could not ignore this potential connection and began gathering more evidence to determine if there was any link between Josh and the scene. They quickly organized a search team to look for any clues about Sierra's disappearance. On July 14th, a resident reported that while driving down the road, they had picked up a motorcycle helmet lying on the side of the road. When they heard about Sierra's disappearance, they decided to take a closer look at the helmet and found red stains on it, possibly blood. The helmet was found near the area where Sierra's bike was located in the cornfield. To identify the owner of the helmet, the police approached Josh regarding his motorcycle helmet. Josh provided his helmet, proving that he had been wearing it when he went out. Additionally, the police confirmed that Josh had returned home after questioning his parents. This evidence eliminated Josh from the list of suspects involved in Sierra's disappearance. Investigators were determined to identify the owner of the blood-stained motorcycle helmet found on the side of the road. Recognizing the importance of DNA evidence, they decided to send it to the crime lab for analysis. News of Sierra's disappearance quickly spread through the community. Residents formed search parties to thoroughly explore the area for any clues that could help locate her. The community also organized a candlelight vigil for Sierra at the local high school. Hundreds attended, holding flickering candles as they came together in a display of grief and hope for her safe return. 2 days into the investigation, police received information about a truck seen speeding through the area. There was speculation that Sierra might have been kidnapped and trafficked in the truck. The informant provided the police with the license plate number. Based on this clue, they interviewed the truck's owner. It was discovered that the speeding truck was not related to Sierra's abduction. The driver explained that another car had suddenly pulled up from behind, possibly a family member searching for Sierra, which startled him. Consequently, he instinctively accelerated. After 48 hours of investigation, There were no leads on Sierra's whereabouts. Her family found it increasingly difficult to remain hopeful as each day passed, and the chances of finding her alive diminished. Although they tried to stay optimistic, the grim reality of the situation became increasingly hard to ignore. The police conducted a door-to-door search for Sierra, and eventually, the investigation led them to a farm not far from where her bicycle was found. The property was about an acre in size and included several structures, such as a small house, a trailer, and a large barn. The owner of the property, James Worley, was met by the police at the farm and questioned about the day Sierra went missing in hopes of gathering relevant information. James surprisingly revealed that he had gone out on a motorbike that day, but the bike had broken down, causing him to lose some items, such as a screwdriver and a helmet. This revelation shocked the detectives, as those items were the same ones found at the scene of Sierra's abduction. James's unwitting involvement in the crime scene became a red flag for the detectives. Sierra's disappearance and her connection to James were becoming increasingly suspicious. While questioning James Worley, the detectives noticed scratches on his face, indicating that he had been involved in a struggle. This further intensified the police's suspicions and raised numerous questions, such as whether the scratches were the result of a confrontation with Sierra. After questioning James, detectives returned to the police station to check his file, hoping to find relevant information. As they dug into James's past, they discovered that he had a dark criminal record, including an attempted kidnapping of a young girl 26 years earlier, on July 4, 1989. On July 4, 1989, 26-year-old Robin Gardner planned to attend a neighborhood picnic. Her mother was preparing potato salad and other food for the event. Robin thought it would be a good idea to go for a bike ride before the picnic. However, she had not brought any water with her, and it was getting very hot and uncomfortable. At that point, Robin considered going home to quench her thirst. Just as she was about to leave, she heard the sound of a car approaching. Robin figured she would wait for the car to pass and then head home. But before she could react, the car struck her bicycle. After the collision, Robin fell into a ditch by the side of the road. Dazed and confused, she still heard the driver stop and run out to check on her. The driver was none other than James, who approached Robin anxiously, trying to assess the situation. The situation quickly turned dangerous. James suddenly struck Robin from behind, hitting her head hard. Then, he pressed a screwdriver to her neck, threatening her life with menacing words. He ordered Robin to get into his car immediately. With the screwdriver pressed against her neck, James forced Robin into the car. After pushing her inside, he attempted to handcuff her. However, Robin resisted fiercely, not allowing him to secure the second handcuff. Despite her screams for help, there was no one in the deserted field to hear her cries. Robin's persistent struggle caused her to nearly faint several times, but she refused to give up. In the eerie silence, she suddenly heard a faint sound in the distance. When she looked closely, she noticed a motorbike approaching James's vehicle. Realizing that this might be her only chance to escape, Robin began waving her arms frantically to attract the motorcyclist's attention. Fortunately, the motorcyclist recognized her urgency and quickly stopped. In a desperate plea for help, Robin told the motorcyclist that James intended to kidnap her. Without hesitation, she climbed onto the back of the motorbike, escaping her captor and his vehicle. The man on the motorbike took Robin home, where she eventually collapsed. Robin's mother immediately called the police and an ambulance. The motorcyclist, wanting to assist the authorities, led the police back to the scene. They were surprised to find James Worley still there with his car. When questioned, James was cooperative and provided identification to confirm his identity. However, his version of the story differed significantly from Robin's account. He completely denied any intention to kidnap her. According to James, Robin had been riding her bike erratically, swerving into the road, which left him unable to avoid a collision. He claimed that after the accident, Robin was in a state of panic, which was why he had handcuffed her. Not to harm her, but to tie her to the steering wheel of his truck while he sought help. He insisted that his actions were motivated solely by concern for her well-being. James Worley was arrested in 1989 after attempting to kidnap Robin. He was convicted of kidnapping and subsequently incarcerated in the state prison in Mansfield, Ohio. James was sentenced to 6 to 10 years in prison, but was released 3 years later for good behavior. When Robin learned that the man who had tried to kidnap her had been released, she was terrified. The fear that James might strike again haunted her. Armed with information about James Worley's criminal past, the police decided to visit his residence. With a search warrant in hand, officers arrived at James's home, suspecting his involvement in Sierra's disappearance. Inside the house, they found nothing unusual. However, when they examined James's backyard, they discovered a small shed tucked away in the corner. Upon opening the shed, they found several bales of hay inside. The officers conducted a thorough search of the barn and the surrounding area, looking for any evidence that could link James to Sierra's disappearance. Every area was searched meticulously in hopes of uncovering hidden items or clues. During the search, detectives found a small green box hidden in a corner of James Worley's barn. They carefully approached and opened the box, revealing its contents. Inside, they found several carefully labeled and sealed bags containing underwear, socks, and tube tops stored in Ziploc plastic bags. As they examined the other items, they came across a pair of purple panties stained with a blood-like substance. The detectives grew increasingly concerned about what other disturbing discoveries might await them in their search of James's property. While searching further, the detectives noticed a piece of plywood on the ground. Recognizing its potential significance, they carefully removed the board, revealing a small chest freezer buried in the barn. Upon opening the freezer, they detected a strong chemical odor similar to bleach, which heightened their suspicions. As they continued investigating, they found other disturbing elements partially hidden among the straw bales. Among the items discovered was a dirty mattress pad. The presence of zip ties, duct tape, handcuffs, and keys intensified their concerns, as these items are often associated with kidnappings and other violent crimes. Detectives collected all the evidence for DNA testing. James attempted to defend himself by claiming that the items were part of a pornographic entertainment business he was planning. However, the overwhelming evidence contradicted his explanation. The combination of evidence collected from the crime scene, along with the incriminating items, led to James's arrest for Sierra's murder. Sierra's family was shocked to learn that her abductor lived far from her home. This revelation left them with many questions, the most pressing of which was, where was she? Detectives conducted a thorough investigation of James's property, leaving no stone unturned. They meticulously searched every inch of the property to ensure a comprehensive examination. To aid in the search, cadaver dogs were brought in to detect any potential human remains. During the investigation, detectives discovered a pond. Recognizing its potential significance, they carefully drained the water to search for any evidence that might have been concealed beneath the surface. Detectives also examined the insulation at the front of the attic. As the investigation progressed, they expanded their search to neighboring properties, realizing that evidence might be scattered beyond James's land. They patiently pursued leads in all directions. At that time, a farmer walking through his field noticed an area of corn that appeared to be disturbed. Curious, he decided to investigate further. As he approached, he saw a mound of dirt and immediately suspected it could be a grave. Given the recent news about Sierah's disappearance, his concerns grew. Without hesitation, he called the police to report his suspicions and provided the exact location. When the farmer called for help, police promptly arrived at the scene. They noticed a freshly disturbed area of dirt, leading them to suspect it could be a burial site. After carefully assessing the situation, the police began their investigation, taking great care not to disturb any potential evidence. The police conducted a thorough search of the scene, hoping to find clues about Sierah's whereabouts. However, despite their best efforts, their search was fruitless. Detectives expanded their efforts, using drones and helicopters to survey nearby farms in hopes of increasing their chances of finding Sierah. During their investigation, the detectives discovered an area of land covered with fresh corn. Their search dogs detected the scent of decomposition, suggesting that this could be a crime scene. When investigators dug into the area, they uncovered human remains. Based on the evidence, it was believed that this was Sierah's body. Tragically, her hands and feet were bound, and a foreign object was lodged in her mouth, making it difficult for her to breathe. The evidence suggested that she had died of asphyxiation. That night, Sierah's family received the devastating news they had feared. The police had found Sierah's lifeless body. The news was heartbreaking, and the family wept. It was a tragic moment, and they were overwhelmed with grief. A month after Sierah's abduction and murder, James Worley was indicted on 19 related charges, including kidnapping and aggravated murder. 2 years later, James stood trial for these charges. Despite the overwhelming evidence against him, he pleaded not guilty to all counts. The jury deliberated for 6 hours before reaching a verdict in James Worley's case. After careful consideration of the evidence presented, he was convicted on all counts related to Sierah's murder. Due to the severity of the crime, he was sentenced to death. In conclusion, the harrowing case of Sierah Joughin came to a tragic end, revealing the dark depths of human cruelty and the devastating impact such acts have on a family and community. The relentless pursuit of justice led to the discovery of Sierah's remains and the conviction of James Worley, whose past offenses and heinous actions ultimately led to his capture. As Sierah's family continues to mourn their loss, they can find some measure of solace in knowing that James Worley has been held accountable. This case serves as a stark reminder of the importance of vigilance, compassion, and the enduring fight for justice in the face of profound tragedy.